We're rocking and rolling.
Nice.
We are back. Kaylor, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, guys. I'm honored that you asked me to be here. This is going to be fun.
Excellent. Yeah,
Let's get long and hard.
Exactly.
Sorry that we're taking you away from the presidential debate tonight.
Oh, is that tonight?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, shit.
No, that's what we said too. We're like, oh, that's tonight.
That's tonight? Wow. I thought that, that is, that's very highly anticipated by me as well, too. I'm very stoked to watch that.
Yeah.
That's going to be really cool. So,
Well, I'm sure we'll see the recording.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be a few Instagram, clips, probably both ways, to be fair, right?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I'm surprised. This year is so wild, and there's kind of like a weird... I've noticed in people sort of this weird, seasonal... almost like a seasonal switch depression or something like that, of, summer was like, all right, I guess it's summertime. It's not so bad. I can go outside. And now we're just really holy shit, where did this year go? But anyways, it's just wild that it's fall already and you're like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, I guess November's next month. So it makes sense there's debates. So
yeah, it's so funny. When the pandemic just started, I was like, oh, at least it's just going into summer. It was a really good time for it to start, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At least if you're in, I suppose the northern hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
And which I'm sure all your listeners are probably northern hemisphere anyways, but so I was like, oh yeah, at least it's summer, but holy smokes, did that fly by. And now I'm like, oh, now we have to do this all winter.
Yeah.
That's why I'm trying to get my butt out of here, but we'll see.
Yeah. Fly on. Have you flown an airplane since the whole thing happened?
I have, yeah, but a very quick one, just from Kelowna to Edmonton.
Okay.
So
they still make you sit in a bubble and all that, or?
It wasn't bad. I thought it was actually really good. I, checked in to security. Obviously nowadays you check in before you get the flight, and the Kelowna airport's really small. You just get right into security, and man, they checked your temperature. You wear your mask, you comply, and do all that good stuff. And I think they fogged the whole airplane, so it's pretty much bleached out, and it probably kills everything in there before you get into it. And
oh boy,
they take your temperature before you get into the plane, and it's all
really
good, man. Yeah.
And
really
is it one person per row, or how does it work?
No, it was full flight, man.
Oh, nice. Really? Shit.
Full flight. I think it's been probably a month or two now that they've actually had full flights. Yeah, they stopped doing the whole half capacity thing.
Oh.
And I'm so glad to see it, man.
Hmm.
It's you know what? Yeah, we need these airlines to stay afloat, and it's if you want to we're all taking our own, it's personal responsibility, right? We're all taking our own risk, and if you feel young and healthy enough, and why not travel? It's a great time to travel, I think. But yeah, there's some uncertainty, so I'm still kind of waiting to see what happens as this second wave before I really go too far, because I was in Bali, like I was saying, last year in March when it happened, and had to rush home, and it was a 36-hour transition
of hell.
Yeah, of course, back then we didn't know what the hell this was. I truly thought, maybe this could be it.
Yeah,
maybe this could be it. And I thought at the very, I kind of thought the worst case scenario is we're all going to know someone that dies from it, because we didn't know what the hell it was back then. Even epidemiologists didn't know, or the experts. So, yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I was listening to a different podcast, kind of about this topic. That was, it's Ari Shaffir's Skeptic Tank, but he does a State of the Union with Dave Smith. They're both comedians, if you know who they are.
Yeah, I know Ari Shaffir.
Yeah. So, but they were just they do a thorough review of each year from kind of a comedy / political standpoint.
Oh boy.
But anyways, it's 3 hours long, so I'm only an hour long into it. So it's been kind of recapping the start of the whole pandemic thing. And exactly that of a lot of this shit was wildly wrong, but you were kind of just going off the data at the time, and I don't know, it was pretty scary at the time, right? We had no idea what was happening. And like you said, the initial modeling of Alberta, I went and looked at the numbers, was basically 1 in 4 people would be infected with it.
Yeah.
So in theory, pretty much everyone, you would know someone, right? In theory. So.
Yeah. Well, and one thing you got to know about me, I'm a health freak, and not just I'm into nutrition and fitness and stuff. borderline, like, I'm not a hypochondriac, but I think if I didn't get my mental health in check, I probably could have went down that direction. So I'm very concerned about my health and my loved ones' health. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, I was, especially my mom, like I felt so bad for her. Like I was like, Mom, you're eating this, here's the supplement. And I'm kind of like that already, but I really dove into like what you need to do to protect yourself. And I was on her like a hawk, and I was like, you know, you can't see anyone. Like she literally didn't see anyone for like months.
I'm locking you away.
And now it's so funny now that we have the data, you know, and I'll be open about this. I know I guess it's considered controversial now because it is polarizing, but I'm respectful to, look, there are some people, like, I don't want my dad getting it. My dad had a heart attack, you know, a year ago or just over a year ago. He's got high blood pressure. He's, pre-diabetic, and, you know, I don't want him getting it. He'd probably be fine, but I still don't want him getting it. I don't want anyone to get it. But now that we kind of know the statistics, I'm a lot more on the side of like, let's live our lives, you know, like, you know, we got to be rational about this. We have way more of a chance. I was just saying to you boys before this, we have way more of a chance driving somewhere than I think we do of COVID. So if you're lucky enough to be young and healthy, or just healthy in general, then, you know,
reasonably
let's live life.
Go about your day in business.
The CDC like statistics just came out this week, maybe last week.
I saw that.
I think it was like 99.98% survival rate for people that are like sub 35 or something like that. So it's like, well,
even if you're under 70, I think it was like 99.4 or something.
Yeah, which is better than probably the seasonal flu.
It's to me, and I could be wrong, but what I've gathered from the data is it's basically around the same death rate as the flu. It's just way more transmissible.
Yes.
Is what I've gathered, which is a big deal. It is. I'm not saying it's not a big deal. That's a big deal because the flu kills a lot of people, and
it does. Yeah.
This is freaking transmitting all over the world rapidly, and a lot of people are going to die, and that's very sad. But we have to pick a poison. We have to pick our poison, and unfortunately, it's going to be a lose-lose. We open up, we live more normal life. People are going to die. If we lock everyone down, we're going to save some lives. However, we're going to ruin our economy, and we're going to ruin people's mental health. I mean, the suicide rates are up 1,000% at some points. Domestic violence is really up. I mean, I don't think people are really taking better care of their health overall. I think it's actually worse for our health. I know drinking was up, alcohol was up. Like, it's bad from a mental health perspective, and I just think we're picking the wrong poison, me personally.
Yeah. I've always just kind of been like, I mean, everybody goes at some point.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's, you know, and you don't really get to pick.
Yeah.
And we're trying to pick, but at the same time, it's not helping to do that, right? And I think the collateral damage, on, like you mentioned, is going to be, when we look at this a decade later, we're going to say, oh, those are the actual statistics nobody ever looked into or had a conversation about at the time.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's crazy because, you know, I think it's just a really good depiction of how, you know, humans run off, 80% of people run off emotion. And I know this from sales, and I know you guys are in sales too, right? You know, people buy off emotion, right? Because we're emotional beings, right? And
definitely.
We, there's about 20% of the population that will actually buy off logic. And I think that's just what you're seeing right now in the pandemic, is like people are scared. They buy into the media. Things are uncertain, and they don't really look at the logic. They don't use their intellect when it comes to COVID and the stats or whatever. I think only 20% of people are. But the rest of the 80 are just like, I mean, wearing masks while they're going to ride their bike, you know, like I saw that yesterday.
Oh,
boys.
man.
I saw that yesterday, and I saw a family of 4 in their car driving back from Calgary, all wearing masks.
Oh, no.
I saw 2 people at the bus stop wearing masks. And I just want to be clear, in case you guys post this on your social media or people listen, like, I'm not against the mask. I wear my mask. I'm happy to. I do it for others, not for me, because I would not be wearing a mask. So I'm not anti-mask, but give me a break. Come on. Use logic.
Well, yeah. Oh, God. It's, the mask is kind of, well, people like selectively kind of do it. And I don't know. It's also, and this becomes, we'll see what happens with this winter, because no one seems to be talking about air circulation, right? And how that affects things. And then if you're sitting in a car with 4 people, sure, you have a mask on, but you're all just sitting there breathing that chunk of air from the whole drive Edmonton to Calgary, right? So
totally. I
don't know.
Well, I mean, masks with you're just breathing in your CO2. I heard it's better to breathe through your nose while you have a mask on. So there's a little nugget for your audience.
Interesting. Well,
why would that be? Just because
Well, I think it's something to do with their CO2 reuptake of breathing in. I don't know. I think maybe you're just... I don't know, man. I maybe shouldn't have said it because now I have to defend it. But no, actually, where I got that from was Dave Asprey. Do you guys know Dave Asprey? He's the Bulletproof Coffee guy.
Yeah, I know him.
Oh, yeah. So I got that from one of his posts. So anyways, I mean, I can't explain it. I'm usually pretty good with my health stuff, but it was like in passing on Instagram. I'm like, okay, breathe out of your nose. Okay, cool.
That guy's like a scientific fucking... He's an experiment unto himself.
Totally, man. What's so impressive about him, and I know he's kind of controversial, some people don't like him, but he'll go toe-to-toe with a doctor. I've seen it any day, and I'm so impressed by people who aren't actually doctors, but they can go toe-to-toe with, like, academics. I love it. I'm not there when it comes to physical health, but, I just love self-education. It's especially nowadays, it's super important. Anyways.
Yeah.
You were going to say something, weren't you? About with the mask thing.
Oh, I don't.
It's gone.
I will say
no,
something.
I was.
Go ahead.
I was going to say,
you
well,
got
also using like the reusable masks, like people probably not washing them enough and stuff, so maybe you'll get sick from something else from just having germs.
Oh.
I don't know.
You see people like... Yeah, I go to the mall and you just see people like touching the front of the mask, and I'm like,
but I also like, because I do but I'm just as bad because I do like, I don't like to wear the surgical masks because they mess up my beard too much. So I wear like a bandana
Beard's
or whatever.
a priority, man.
Oh yeah. I wear like a bandana so it goes like straight down, but then I like have to like pull it down and pull it back up. So I guess I'm touching.
Now, are you a blood or a crep?
That's the real fucking
I keep
question.
both colors in my car just and check which area.
Depends what neighborhood you're in.
Yeah.
You gotta be
fly
careful.
under the radar.
Gotta check yourself.
Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
be careful.
I was gonna say the fucking copywriters are having a field day though for a lot of marketing that I'm seeing.
Oh yeah.
If you're like a gym or something, I'm seeing these copy. The copy on their websites now is like, oh, we recirculate the air like 50 times a minute or some shit. It's like, it's actually bonkers.
Yeah, man. It's a new world, boys.
Oh yeah. I like how many ads I've noticed where the person, if there's a picture in the ad copy, they're now wearing a mask.
Yeah,
too.
I know. It's insane, man.
Yeah.
Or like you see videos or movie, like, or I guess anything on TV of like in the past where people were together and not wearing masks, and you're like, that's so weird.
It is funny how we've been almost reconditioned. Or what was I thinking? You know what? So yeah, same thing. I've seen movies, TV shows where you see people at, say, a party or something, and you kind of look at it like, now, but you're like, a year ago I wouldn't have that. That would be a weird thought if you were like, you guys are standing too close together at this house party. Like someone, speaking of being a hypochondriac or whatever, or a germaphobe, like.
And I've definitely never been a germaphobe. I know that's not what you were saying, but yeah, I want to clarify. It's just like really being afraid of like getting sick or disease or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like.
Well, I've gotten to the point where I've like almost thought I had something and been like, well, that's over, man.
Oh yeah, I used to. I mean, growing up,
it
was the worst. I used to go to my mom and be like, Mom, I have meningitis because I have, spots on my leg or something. She's like, it's a bruise or whatever.
You're preaching to the choir here, man.
Yeah.
The self-diagnoses choir.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed on WebMD anymore. I've banned myself from that.
Fuck, it's the worst though. It's like, well, you could be, you could have the common cold, or you could have brain cancer, right? So it's
pretty much.
Consult your physician.
It's
not allowed to go off of.
No, for sure. What was I gonna say? Something about and I'm not really big on. I mean, I don't like to buy into conspiracy theories are interesting to me, but I don't really like to get too invested into them because I just don't think they serve me long term, obviously. But is something going on here, boys? Like, is there a bigger thing going on? You know, like what are your guys' thoughts on that? I'm turning this into my podcast.
Well, we have had conversations in the past. Yeah.
And if, you know, we're not afraid to err on the conspiracy side of things, or at least throw that out there. So, don't be shy there.
I like thinkers to listen to this podcast.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be interested in this. Well, in the beginning, I don't lean towards conspiracies, and they always sound way too big and to pull off, but they're very interesting. So I like to, but it's getting to the point where I'm like, it's so. Our reaction to it and just the way in which we're reacting to it, and the governments are imposing these, like even just the mandates and stuff. It's like there's a part of me that's starting to wonder, like, there might be a bigger agenda here, like what, but I don't know. I know there's all sorts of kinds, and some of my conspiracy friends are telling me what they think it is, and I'm like, I don't know, but I don't know what you guys think.
Well, I'm of the mind that if Biden wins in November, there was no pandemic.
There was no pandemic.
There was no pandemic.
So he's using it to get Trump out of office.
I think that there's a deep underlying working that is, there's a lot of shit going on in the U.S. right now, not just the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it all kind of plays into that hand of, stir up the public and get people,
But is that even a conspiracy theory? I mean, I think that's just the Democrats being smart in, like, really blowing up this pandemic, making it sound like it's the worst thing ever, and that Trump's reaction was so
piss poor or whatever.
Piss poor that it just gets him out of office. And I hope you're right, by the way. But is that really a conspiracy? Like, I think that's just them using that as a...
Could be,
Yeah, exactly. But then, I mean, what is... In theory, conspiracy is just planning something without telling someone your intentions, right? So it's not always like aliens planned the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? Like, it can be.
Is that an actual conspiracy?
No, but who knows?
We're starting it right now.
Yeah, no exactly.
Fucking thanks, Mr. Oxford
Dictionary. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, see, I think, the thing is like, both parties want to attack the other, and when something comes up that they can use as ammunition, they're like, all right, we're going to run with this.
Totally.
So,
definitely.
But what I've been thinking about lately is, now that we, like, know more about this whole pandemic coronavirus thing, we don't know everything, but we know a lot more. We can take more of a macro 10,000-foot view, and when you, like, try to just be an observer of what has gone on in the world in North America this year, it's pretty crazy, and it seems just so suspicious that it's like how it actually all happened, so much ridiculous shit in such a short amount of time on an election year. Like, it makes you scratch your head. Maybe it's not a conspiracy theory, but there's a lot of things that line up for people who think that way.
You had sent an article about something about the China's reaction or something was intended to make the West lock down or something?
Now there's, like, some level of information circulating in the intelligence community that a lot of there's certain people who suspect that China wanted the West to lock down, right? And there was a lot of just a big push on social media to push out certain clips and things to essentially force our societies, our governments in that direction.
Well, I think that's almost obvious that China would want us to lock down. I mean, they're trying to be the global superpower, which they're already on their way to do. I think projected is like 2024 or something. They're going to surpass the U.S. economy or something. But I one that I can buy into is, and I know Brett Weinstein was on Joe Rogan, and do you guys know Brett Weinstein? He's and he's pretty adamant about, and he's not like, this guy's an intelligent guy. He's an academic, and he is pretty set on that this was a man-made virus, which is so interesting because I heard so many epidemiologists and so many scientists say that there's no way it could have been, and they break down why, but like, I don't really understand because I'm not really, I don't use that language, but they're like, no, there's just no way it could be because of the, all these different compounds and stuff like that. And then you hear a guy like Brett Weinstein who's like, no, it's got all the attributes of a man-made virus. You know, with the Wuhan, like there's a facility in there that works with viruses in Wuhan, which is really interesting. Like I would say that's one that I can buy into. But the whole like that there's the big conspiracy about how there's like the new world order and the virus is like becoming the thing that they're using for the tool. Like I just like, okay, I'm open-minded, I'm open to anything, but like, and I could totally see, and I think there are people who are trying to like really at the end of the day control the world and the new world order and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure there is, but like to get all of the countries on the same page and all of the leaders, I mean, there's hundreds of countries in the world and all of them have lockdown, all of them, you know, and I feel like there would be some politicians that would just be like, no, this is bullshit. Like, we're not following this. We're not. And it's just like, there's so much compliance that I'm like, I don't know. It almost makes me think the other way. But regardless, without trying to get too scattered here, I hope you're right on the Biden thing. My fear is actually if the Democrats get in, that it actually might go the other way, where they're like, it's like obviously the socialist movement. I mean, I believe in capitalism. I'm scared shitless of the socialist movement because I don't think we've seen that works. And I think there's some very scary things that can happen there. And I fear that the Democrats get in, they're going to try and control even more. They're going to try and lock down more, impose more restrictions. Because typically the Republican and Democrat narrative has been like, Republicans want their freedom, they don't want to wear masks, they just want their guns and all that stuff. And then the Democrats are like, lock down, like you know, shut businesses down, like let's get rid of this. So I hope that's what happens. The Democrats, if they get in, I hope that they just used it as to get Trump out, and that they're going to be like, all right, now we just got to learn to live with this, and let's like let the world get back to normal.
Sure. But even thinking on a bigger scale, like this in Canada, for example, has paved the way for universal basic income.
Right.
Right. And also, if we look at how the stock market is doing and what companies are, you know, taking off, this has been a huge wealth transfer too. You see, you know, Bezos has exceeded $200 billion at certain points.
They've all gotten richer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the politicians that aren't even, you know, maybe they're the useful idiots.
Totally.
And there's a larger cabal.
I can buy into that, man. That's or not buy into it, but be open to that for sure. I mean, that would make a lot of sense because the gap that we've been talking about for a long time, it's just getting bigger, and Corona's just one interesting perspective that I've heard a lot is Corona isn't really changing a whole lot. It's just speeding things up. It's just speeding trends that were already inevitable to happen up, right?
Okay.
You know, when we see this in like the corporate world, like we were going to work from home more so anyways, right? So it's just speeding that up.
Yeah.
You know, the wealth gap was it was already starting to trend in that direction more and more, and it just sped that up. Like, you know, in many ways, in schooling, universities, like, you look at all these things that Corona is really doing for the world. It's just speeding a lot of those things up. And yeah, it has changed a lot of things. But I think, and at the end of it all, on a macro level, everything's going to go back to normal, but it's going to have sped up all these trends that were already happening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. Even our like global logistics and travel system was pretty open to completely fall apart by something similar. I mean, I think we lucked out with this one because it, you know, the worst case scenario of COVID, it could have been that plausibly, right? Yeah. Thankfully it wasn't, right? But yeah, I think one thing I have always said is when it comes to conspiracy theories, and there's the types out there who think it's like, you know, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and, you know, a few other people in a dark boardroom. Well, it's that, but also you're almost giving them too much credit. Like, the world is chaos, and so is humanity. And we're almost assigning, I think we as humans want to assign order to that chaos because that's just, we think the world should work in like plain, simple ways. I can see what's in this room. I know who's in you know what I mean? Like,
totally.
But our perspective is like small and not meant to be that big in a way. And we almost want to give the chaos of the world some credit, and that comes about in a conspiracy theory of like, oh, well, these 7 guys obviously just control everything, and that explains it all, right?
I could not agree with you more.
Yeah.
That is such a good point. We give, like, everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people are hating on Bill Gates these days, and they think that he's like, he's just, like, come on, like, and maybe you guys can disagree with me. I'm totally open to thoughtful disagreement, but like, who, like, are we actually suggesting that Bill Gates is so... I know he's powerful. I know he's got a lot of money. I know he's the real deal. But, he's worked for years to just eradicate, like, one disease, right? And, like, he's just starting to do it. Like, or I don't... Maybe that's not the most accurate statement. But, like, anyways, who... Like, a lot of people are thinking that he's involved with the coronavirus just so that we can, like... He can develop the vaccine and, like... make money off of it and whatnot. Like, I don't actually know what it is.
The mind control chips or who knows.
Yeah, like, exactly,
right? Like,
that kind of stuff. And it's like, you just said it. It's like, we give them too much credit. Like, they're very powerful. They're very smart. But holy shit, does that take a lot to pull off. Like, and that's what I always have a problem with these conspiracy theories is it's like, in actuality, the logistics, and this is just my brain thinking, and I'm not that smart. So, maybe I'm wrong, but the compliance, the organization, the secrecy that would need to happen in that, the people involved, I mean, it would just take so much to pull off. And I think I agree with you. We just give them too much credit, and we don't give the fact that the world is just fucking chaotic, and like we were gonna have a pandemic every 100 years anyways on average. So it's like we don't give enough credit to like, this just, I think really what this is it's just something that came along that's really unfortunate. It was only a matter of time, and it's showing how volatile we are as a humanity.
I almost think, but then with kind of like the China conspiracy side of things, because they're benefiting quite a bit from this, and there's reports of like nightclubs in Wuhan are open again and shit. Yeah. But all that aside, they're not our friends, right? Yeah. Like, Chinese people have no problem. Like, it's the Chinese government. They're not our friends. Let's be very, very clear.
Love Chinese people.
But their government is a different story, and that's who we talk about when we mention that, right? Of course. And they want to be the global superpower, and China is a very united front because you have to be, right? And just under the communist system, etc. So it's very easy. Like, their intelligence of America, for example, they're like, they could probably see, division, yada yada. One news does this, one news does this. Let's just throw, a match to gasoline and let it go nuts, and they'll eat themselves alive. But we won't even have to like have a war with them. We just flip this one thing here. We're the bad guy walking away from the crime scene, flicking our cigarette, and walking off into the distance, right?
But my question to you is like, again, is that giving China too much credit?
Maybe.
Again, I know, like, because that is like that is madness to pull off. Let's put out a virus first in China, ruin our economy, and then hope that it gets to other places, and then we're gonna recover, which they wouldn't know that they were going to. And then the rest of the world will fall apart. Like, is that, like, that's a fucking master plan. Like, that's Ocean 100.
But if you were to do it, Ocean 100.
Ocean 100?
Yeah, that's Ocean 100.
I'd pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they were going to do it, that would probably be how they would do it. Make it look like it came from a wet market, because people from the West would look at it and be like, well, I guess they have wet markets and there's wild animals and world travel. It would eventually circulate.
Yeah. But I'm just, and I even think about like the conversations of how that would even start. So what, like, I don't know what the name of their leader is.
Xi Jinping or something.
Xi Jinping, I think, or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So like even how that starts. So like they're in a boardroom and they're like, like I picture them just being like, so here's our plan is we're going to actually release a virus out into the world, and then like, okay, then they go and they recruit some scientists to like get involved. Like it's so hard for me to picture how that would actually.
The best argument I've ever heard about the conspiracy theories though, and here I'm just going to float an idea. What if there's a level above that though? So what if there's a level above the Jeff Bezoses and stuff?
I'm listening.
Okay. I'm just floating the idea.
No, I'm listening, man. You got my attention.
But here's the thing. This is the best thing that I've ever heard about conspiracy theories, is that it's decompartmentalization.
decompartmentalized.
Yeah. So you essentially you have your 100,000 people that are a part of this thing, but they don't know,
what they're a part of.
Yeah, they don't know the level above them or the level below them. They're just serving their purpose, that cog in that machine.
Okay. That is a brilliant point, because it's what I've always said about conspiracy. Even the 9/11 stuff, which I know a lot of people went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a lot of people a lot of smart people are very convinced, and I'm open to it. But that was always my biggest argument, is like, how do you pull that off? And what you just said makes a lot of sense in that the people, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you're basically saying that like the higher powers who are organizing this don't really tell the plan to everyone.
I think that's in theory it would be like 3 guys, and they're like, "Hey, you're the science guy.
Yeah,
go recruit scientists to build this, and this." And then because that's where a lot of their criticism comes from, is because the big issue is what China calls it their 1,000 Talents program, which is recruiting foreigners to them to come work for them and their government. And that was where there was the big issue of a bunch of American scientists who were working for the Chinese government but didn't disclose they were receiving money.
Totally.
And that was, some people got arrested for that, some guy from like Harvard or something like that. But
there's a Canadian that was involved.
There's a Canadian person involved. But that was kind of the thing where it's like, hey, just work on this project, it's for this type of virology. And that's all you really learn. And
let's not we're missing a big point. Like, that's how businesses operate.
Well, that's
good. Amazon.
I mean,
this is the basic level worker at Amazon doesn't have any idea of what the actual mission behind the scenes is of the executives.
They were packing fucking books in the packages.
Like, pack your book, but do this.
And now they're a fucking global
your money.
logistics company.
Here's your money.
Yeah.
It's like drug dealers, right?
Yeah.
The guy on the corner doesn't know what happens in the fields of Colombia and vice versa, sort of thing, right? So it's kind of.
And are you guys turning me into a conspiracy theorist?
But the thing is,
that's what the world is, right?
Yeah,
like you said, that's any corporation we just described too, right?
But if 100,000 people know like the deal,
someone's going to talk.
It's going to get out. It's going to get out.
Whistleblower,
right?
For sure.
So it's probably like a guy,
who
has this thing in his head, who now has 10 guys below him that are like you said, the science guy, the fucking politics guy, the fucking, whatever, the social change guy.
And if we were to run through all the world governments in our head, which one most closely resembles the one Josh just described?
Seriously.
So,
but when someone tries to tell me that like governments are like, look, I know governments are corrupt. I don't think that's even a bold statement. But but at the same time, I feel like, there are some people who really believe that there's like this bigger, the question is like, how corrupt are they, right? And like a lot of people believe that like it's like there's this big like conspiracy of like people like the New World Order kind of stuff, and it's like, well, but there's a certain point, and it happens, like Snowden, right? Like Snowden coming out and releasing that document that he saw or whatever. Like, but it's got to come to a point. I get the compartmentalization.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, but I think that would only work to a certain extent. Once the thing is, and I guess it depends what it is, but especially with like just governments in general, having a big master plan, like, man, that's got to be so incredibly tough to pull off. And I think we just underestimate how complicated the world is, how complicated governments are, organizations are, how uncertain things are. And as soon as something happens like this, it's very romantic to make up a conspiracy theory, and it's a business. I'm sure there's people making money off it.
Definitely.
Somewhere. Yeah. So,
well, fucking face mask manufacturers, man. Like, there's, the people who, like, alcohol companies went and just started making hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
Like, there's a niche to fill, and there's a lot of money to be made.
Totally.
Too, so.
Well, shit, boys, I didn't expect us to talk about conspiracy theories.
Just thinking that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm usually used to talking about mental health, like psychology, but I mean, I'm here for it, boys. Yeah. I'm here for it. Like the young kids would say these days, I'm here for it.
Yeah. That's funny. Actually, I noticed you have your 2.0 tattoo, and I think Anthony has one that says 2.0 as well.
It's so funny. So I've always, one of the things I do to describe, like, I'm essentially a life coach. I don't like to brand myself as a life coach because I think people have, preconceived notions about, okay, you're a life coach. Yeah, I'm one of the ones that take it extremely seriously. I say I'm a mental wealth coach. That's how I romantically brand it. But one of the things I say to people when I work with them is I want to focus on you becoming a 2.0 version of yourself, because that's what I did in my journey. I became a 2.0 version of myself. And I don't know, it didn't come from Anthony, but I knew that Anthony had that tattoo, which is super cool. And I remember I just got this 2.0 tattoo like probably 2 months ago or whatever.
Oh, really?
And I remember I was in the grocery store and I was about to get it done, and I'm like, I should get Anthony's blessing. I just felt this need to like just be like, hey man, just so you know, like, I'm kind of copying you with it, but like, I just want you to be okay with it before I get it. I don't want you to see it on social media or whatever and be like, okay. And I knew he'd be cool with it. So I voice messaged him and I was like, hey man, like, I'm going to get this 2.0 tattoo. And I know you already have it. He's got a big one in his hand.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's going to be really small. And like, are you okay? And of course, Anthony's so cool. He's just like, fuck yeah, man. He's like, yeah, I'd buy it. So I'm like, okay, I'm glad I got your blessing. So anyways, probably a relevant story there, but yeah, 2.0, man. 2.0 version of myself.
So what was 1.0?
Oh, 1.0. Shit, how much time do you guys have?
Decent bit.
I don't want to bum you guys out. No, 1.0 was constantly in a battle with my mind, constantly getting in my own way, constantly self-sabotaging, very low self-worth, very insecure. Not from the outside perspective. Like, I wouldn't have even been able to do this because I would have been like too insecure about things. But if I had to and was forced to, you guys would probably be like, oh yeah, that, he's a confident cat. But man, inside it was a different story. So very low self-worth, a lot of anxiety, depression, ADHD, addiction tendencies, unmotivated, low energy. Just I didn't have a spark. I just was like, yeah. So that was the 1.0 version. And then I got absolutely obsessive. I found a Tony Robbins audiobook in my dad's car.
Oh.
And it was about 12 years ago or so. And he made me realize that there is like this possibility to actually achieve like, things that are unimaginable and like achieve your highest potential kind of thing. And he just made me realize that was possible. And I got into personal growth and development. And I've just been obsessed with it for the last 12 years. And my obsession has grown more and more as the years have gone on. Mm-hmm. I started that journey about 12 years ago, but specifically in the last few years. Mm-hmm. I had a gym actually not too far from here. And we opened up a second location like very close to here, like a hop, skip, and a jump.
Mm-hmm. Like what kind of gym?
Private gym, like a personal trainer. Like we had group classes, personal training. We had massage, chiro.
What was it called?
TNP Fitness. It standed for Training, Nutrition, and Purpose. And yeah, I had it for 5 years, and it got to this great place where I remember the grand opening of our second location. It was like the best day of my life. I just like, it was complete validation for me. We were popping champagne. Everyone I knew, everyone I loved was there. We had hundreds of clients that came through. We were running classes and balloons, and we had my staff there. And it was just like, as a guy who didn't graduate high school and grew up with low self-worth and a battle in his mind and mental health challenges, it was like the most validating, affirming thing to me ever. And then I woke up the next morning and I realized how burnt out I was and how much I didn't want to even go to work. So I was like, I've been working on this gym completely. To me, I think there's two places ambition can come from. It can come from scarcity and a fear of failure. So you're just like constantly trying to get to that next level to validate your self-worth and have people, say you're so great, you're so successful, all these things. Or it can come from genuinely actually enjoying what the fuck you do and like genuinely having purpose and meaning behind the things that you do. And I realized that I was building my gym from column one. And yeah, I didn't even want to go to work. So I struggled for like 3 months to just try and like, but I was so burnt out, man, like just so burnt out, so tired. My mental health challenges got worse. This is almost 4 years ago, I think. And I just ripped the Band-Aid off one day. Went to my friends and I said, I think I want to close the gym down. And they thought I was fucking nuts. Like they were like, you can't do this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, because it was successful. It was very popular on social media, and like we had, it was one of the places to be in fitness, and I had such a great staff and all that stuff, and they thought I was nuts. But it's a great lesson, and sometimes you just got to go with your gut. I just knew it wasn't the right fit, and I ripped the Band-Aid off, and I lost a lot of, I don't even know how I got on this, but I think it's relevant. I lost a lot of people in my life that I thought were really close to me and I thought were friends, and that had my back. And as soon as they were inconvenient, because when you shut down a business, people don't understand how business work. Like, a lot of people don't understand how businesses work, right? And when you sign a really big lease for 5 years, and you have a lot of moving factors, and you have clients that have signed, contracts, and you have staff, and you have the CRA that you owe, you have creditors, you have personal guarantees. Like, shutting a business down like that when you have to do it for your mental health is not easy, and it's going to inconvenience people. And guess what? A lot of people didn't like that. And they didn't, and I tried to do my best, but I was a mess, and I tried to be, open about everything. But anyways, so then I felt really isolated. So that was one of the lowest points of my life, almost 4 years ago. But then for the last like 3 years, it's just been that journey that I've been on is just like completely been on steroids, and I've just been so obsessive about just getting better and better and better, to the point now where I am at, like, I still have my days, and we all have our struggles, but I'm honestly living a life that I thought was unimaginable to me. My mental health, my clarity, and it's all to do with, I've changed so many things, and I fully committed. I fully was like, you know what? I'm so tired of this bullshit, and I'm just going to really go for it. And I'm like, I'm going to show up for myself like I've never shown up for myself before. And I did everything. Like, and I was kind of like almost an experiment. I was like, let's just see what happens. Let me fully commit to becoming that 2.0 version, and let's just see how far I can go with it. And I just, like, even on the days where I didn't feel like doing a fucking cold shower and my 40 minutes of meditation and eating, real food every single day, and, like putting in the work and like going to work out and all that, even when I didn't feel it, I just did it anyways. And turns out that really works out for you if you just do it consistently. And now I'm a 2.0 version of myself. So
damn,
kind of a long-winded way of saying it, but
no, that was great, man. I mean, shit, I've many follow-up questions.
I do too.
shit.
You go first.
So just out of one day, like one day you just decided, doors were locked, sign said we're closed, sort of thing, walked away from it all? Like,
I literally I made up my mind even before I told anyone, and I was so certain of it. And it was such a decision where people would think that I would have wrestled with it for a while, but I was like, I literally woke up one day and I'm like, I gotta shut it down. And I just knew it was the best for me. And again, it's just a great life lesson that, like, sometimes you gotta do what's best for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it fucking inconveniences other people, and it sucks. I let a lot of people down. But you have to prioritize your needs over other people's wants. And everyone wanted the gym to stay running because some of them it was their careers, and we had clients who had invested in it. But I did my best. We negotiated with the gym down the street that they would take all our clients for no charge of whatever sessions they had remaining. I told my trainers and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, you gotta be selfish sometimes. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. But I knew right away, it was like, this is what I need to do. It's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done, but I got it done.
Would you say you were kind of like a hustle culture person before that? Like, the like 16-hour Gary V days or whatever? Like,
I mean, I'm still like that, man.
Yeah.
I really am. I love, but here's the difference. again, two places ambition can come from. In the beginning, I was the hustle Gary V guy, 16 hours a day, so that I could validate my self-worth. Now I'm like, let's fucking work 16 hours a day because you actually love what you're doing. Like, my biggest problem right now is I don't know what the fuck to do when I'm not working, right? And like family and friends, that's easy. But like, if I'm not working, I don't know what to do. And it's not a problem because, again, when it comes from that place of genuinely actually enjoying what you're doing and meaning and purpose, you don't get burnt out, right? If you're taking care of yourself, you know, it's really hard to get burnt out. I shouldn't say you can't, because I'm like, it's not work to me. I like, I'm not stressed because I'm not attached to an outcome. Whereas before I was so attached to like, I need to get here and I need to get to this level. Otherwise I'm going to feel like I have no self-worth. Whereas now it's like, I don't know, I'm just doing it because I love it. I mean, I run a podcast. I help people all over the world. I get on the phone with them. I coach them. I love it. So, you know, it's stressful sometimes, but it's from a completely different place. But I love to work. I'm all about working hard, man, because I've seen it pay off for me and dividends and change my whole life. So I'm very I know it's like a, you know, let go, balance, like fuck balance, man. Like, look, if you want to achieve anything extraordinary, extraordinary, which is when you break down that word, it's extraordinary. Well, then you gotta work hard. But hey, I am just as envious as someone who is really happy and they don't need to work hard. I'd like to live some days like that, you know. And I don't think that one is better than the other. It's just like, if you want to live an extraordinary life, you got to put in extraordinary hours.
What was it for you that didn't, like, what was it that kind of pushed you away from the gym? Because you look like you're into health and fitness. You look like you're into that sort of thing. So for me, at least from an outsider looking in, I would be like, that's kind of a good position for you to be in, right?
For sure, man. But it wasn't about that anymore. It was about cleaning toilets, and it was about leaving dinner parties because our speakers wouldn't work in a group class and I had to run there. It was about the pressure of having a $500,000 lease over my, you know.
Gotcha.
Like, it wasn't about like, look, I want to make impact, and I know that's like a really cliche, but I want to make an income making a really big impact. I want to make a really big income making a really big impact. That's always been my goal. And it was like I don't need to do all this bullshit to make an impact. And especially with the internet nowadays, I knew that like I wanted to go online, and it's just such a better model, man. Like, I you know, respect to if any gym owners are, because some people, it is what they should be doing. But like for me, man, I don't want all the bull. And the community was cool, and like that's what I liked about it, was like the community of people coming in every day. But like, and some great people too. But man, like, it's just such a better model to just go online, and I think the impact that I'm gonna make online, it's already exceeded what it was with the gym. But like the gym, it's like, it's such a tough model, man. Paper thin margins, and like if you really want to make it big and make an impact, I'm a go big or go home kind of guy. I always want that next level. So it's like, it was either like I was going to franchise these all over Canada, and it's like, just thinking about that gave me a headache. It's a lot of work and a lot of stress. And I didn't have any partners or anything, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah.
That's
crazy story.
It is. No, that's really interesting, though. I don't know. I feel like I've had some self-realizations even listening to that. Because for me, I find sometimes getting caught up in the busy work, like, you're going to have that of every job, right?
For sure.
Like, there's going to be certain, like, paperwork you have to fill out that you don't want
to.
Like, it's part of life.
Totally, man. Yeah. And don't think that, like, I don't have anything that I have to do.
There's, like, no negatives in your day.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, and I've been catching myself lately being like, why am I doing this with certain aspects of my business? Totally. Where I'm like, I literally hate doing this, and it's just making me kind of anxious because it's taking me away from what I should and want to be doing, or know it will be more fulfilling to do, right?
But you know, I mean, you can outsource that, and you can, you know, so, and then we have our blocks like, oh, but I could save money and do it myself. But it's like, no, but then you'll be doing more of what is actually the most revenue generating activity, and the thing that you only can do, that you can outsource, right? Because you're a realtor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man. Look, that was the biggest lesson of my life, and I like telling that story because it's a big lesson for anyone, and it was a pivotal moment in my life, man. And I think knowing when to quit something is just as important as like, the not quitting, like never quit. I don't believe in the never quit. It's like, yeah, never quit overall. Like, you have a main mission. Everyone has a North Star. Don't quit the North Star. But like, you can lose a battle and then focus on the war. Don't quit the war. But we can lose battles here and there. I think the losses that taught me so much too. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing in business now if I didn't have that lesson. Like, you learn, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Without starkly changing topics too much, how old are you, by the way?
31.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you found Tony Robbins at like a relatively young age then, I guess, hey?
Yeah. Yeah, I did. Like I said, it was probably about 12 years ago. And yeah, I just found a cassette tape. It was I think it was Awaken the Giant Within.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of his like classic
Yeah.
one, isn't it? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
I've listened to him on other interviews. I haven't listened to his actual
Actually,
tapes,
no. You know what it was? It was Unleash the Power Within, I think.
Okay.
So UPW, or is that? I know he does like a conference called UPW, but no, I think maybe
because there's one that's Power and one that's Giant in the title. I know that.
Well, Awaken the Giant Within is a book that he has.
Oh, okay.
And so this was like an audio, like a cassette audio, not a cassette, sorry, a CD.
Oh, okay.
Audio.
Okay. Yeah.
But which I was listening to, and then that's a book. But he's got Unleash the Power Within, which is a conference. So it wasn't Unleash the Power Within; it was Awaken the Giant Within. So
okay, gotcha.
So anyways, it was Tony Robbins is the man. I know he's like easy to make fun of and easy target because he's like the like life coach, like kind of. But fuck, he's the man. He just lights my soul on fire listening to him. I have so much respect for him, and he changed my life, honestly.
Yeah. Have you seen the Netflix documentary?
Oh man,
about him?
Have I seen?
Oh really?
I'm not your guru.
I'm not your guru. Yeah.
Is it good?
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I saw a trailer for it. I haven't watched it.
Dude, I think it's like one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. I also cried in it, like, waterworks. And that stuff just gets me, man. I think it's just because I've struggled for so long. And I know a lot of people watching it, they think it's cheesy or like it's just like, oh yeah, like this motivational bullshit. But like, I struggled for so long that like, and actually I had a client call earlier today, and she wrote on her wall, that Rocky quote?
Yeah.
That's like, life ain't all sunshine and rainbows, and like, it's not about how many times you fall down. And I know that's so cheesy, but man, that's still just like sends chills down my spine, man. It's like, life is gonna knock you down, and like, just get back up, and like that stuff, man. It's so cliche, but it just evokes so much emotion out of me because I literally struggled for so many years, and it sucked, and it just it gets me.
Well, there is actually a meaning behind those things. Like even shit, I wish I could think of a good example, but some of those like borderline cheesy axioms, it's like there's a profound truth to them, but they've gotten broken down so much that they almost sometimes lose a bit of their meaning. Like you have to have like your personal context put behind it even.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what it is. It's like it's a universality, and there's the simplicity of it that it just, people can relate to it, right?
Yeah. But it's also easy to overlook because it's so simple too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you into NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming?
Yeah, I've actually thought about getting certified or taking courses and stuff. I know like the basics of it, and I've read books on it and stuff, but in kind of my earlier journey, audiobooks and stuff about NLP, and I forget who's like the father of NLP, but I've read like at least one of his books, and it's really interesting stuff, man. And I'm like, are you really into it? That's why you ask? Or
not so much.
Curious?
Like I've man, the whole rabbit hole that I've gone down lately when it comes to religion / everybody has those like questions, and to go down the rabbit hole of the spirituality and that sort of thing. Like I've just been like, what do these people think? Okay, what do these people
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And then
Totally,
just kind of like see where that leads me. But that, I mean, I've heard of it. I've done some research on it.
Yeah, neuro-linguistic programming, like for, I guess, your audience, not everyone knows what it is. It's like,
I don't even fully know what it is.
yeah,
Honestly.
I mean, I don't know what the actual, like, if you looked it up, what the definition would be, but it's basically like a set of like principles that are based on psychology to, I guess influence human behavior or human psychology. And it's like, Donald Trump is known to know NLP, and Tony Robbins is a big NLP guy, and it's all to do with like interrupting patterns is essentially one of the foundational principles of like, and this is why, like, I'll give you an example. Like Tony Robbins swears in his conferences and stuff, and the I'm Not Your Guru documentary, like he says fuck a lot, and like people don't really understand. It's like, why do you need to swear a lot? And it's like, really, in psychology, taboo words will interrupt the pattern of our psychology. So like when someone says a taboo word, you immediately get your attention drawn to it because it's a taboo word. So he strategically swears as he's talking to like draw the attention back from the audience, because like obviously when he's speaking for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, people can lose interest.
Definitely.
But you enter in those taboo words and it draws people's attention, and he'll do things like he'll stand up, or he'll get you to stand up, or he'll, it's about interrupting the pattern. Or even the word look, like, and I say the word look a lot. I've built a habit of being like, look, like this. And for some reason, when we say look, it draws people's attention in as well too. So, and obviously that's like just really oversimplistic, things with NLP, but it obviously is much more extensive than that. But like those are just some examples of like, it's just, using human psychology to kind of influence and yeah.
It's almost like so it's just kind of one component of persuasion, of like a certain word or tactic or something.
But you do it to yourself.
Okay, but you do it to yourself as well?
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
gotcha.
Yeah, you can do it to yourself, and you can do things that will influence the pattern interrupts or the programming in other people to get, the desired result that you want.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, maybe an NLP practitioner would probably be listening to me and be like,
but
what?
Yeah.
These guys don't know what they're talking about.
NLP for dummies is what I just did. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I've heard the term before. I don't exactly know, and I wasn't sure if it was on like others or yourself kind of thing.
Totally.
I've actually been reading / listening to a lot of stuff about persuasion lately.
Yeah.
And not, which I guess to what you guys just talked about, it's a little more macro, big picture kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So funny. I've actually I said a couple of days ago that like I want to focus more on persuasion this month. Like I want to research persuasion. And a lot of people, that's a term that people like.
They get a little squirrely when they hear it.
It was kind of like
are you going to persuade me?
They do.
But it's more of a broad understanding of human psychology over selling people something.
Well, yeah, and like we're always persuading.
Yeah.
Every single thing we do is persuasion. Yeah. But it's like, is it motivated to get them to do bad things or to do good things, or things that serve them or things that don't serve them? If you do things that get them to if you persuade someone to do something that's going to serve them and serve the greater good of everyone, that's a win. If you do things that persuade people to do things that are bad for them and don't serve their greater good, that's manipulation. That's a different. That's called manipulation. So
true.
There's nothing wrong with learning persuasion. We are always selling everything. But anyways, not to get off topic. But yeah, NLP, like the thing about me is, look, we all have our gifts. We all have abilities and stuff. I'm not good at a lot of things, truly. But I stay in my lane. And I just think and I think it comes from my past because I've struggled so much. And then once you get through those struggles, you learn so much about psychology. But I don't really feel the need to, like, it's so funny. I'll listen to a psychologist talk on a podcast, and she'll say something that she's spent years researching, and I'll be like, and I say this humbly because it's been a blood, sweat, and tears of a journey. But she'll say something that she's realized in research or psychology or whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, I've been teaching my clients that for like years, and I've been telling people this for years, or I've been telling myself this for years. So it's like there's some sort of like, again, I'm really bad at a lot of things, but when it comes to just human psychology, I just have a knack for knowing how like things work. And I am not, by no means, I'm not going to go toe to toe with like a psychotherapist who's been doing it for 30 years or something, but like, you know, I don't know, I just have a knack for it. So I'm not, and I'm also not an academic. I don't like studying out of a textbook too much. So it's hard for me to like go, you know, to school and like study these things, you know.
Anecdotes are always first.
Yeah, man, anecdotes and also just like it's the way we learn. Like I love listening to a podcast of a psychologist or something, right? Rather than just sitting there studying out of a textbook.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something to be said about even the school of hard knocks, really.
Yeah, man.
And self-education. Like frankly, I mean, I don't know, man. I took a lot of classes in university that were like, I get the point of electives is to broaden your horizons, so you're not just this like light switch, so you can only do one thing, right? Right? But I don't know. I feel like a lot of them were just such a like just filling time. Right?
Yeah,
like,
man.
and it's, so how much do you really learn? I don't know. Some people it's like, yeah, you went to school for so long, but
here's
what do you really know?
Here's the problem, man, is you have to be interested in it. If you're
Yeah,
not
absolutely.
interested, like if you had an elective that you were like really passionate about, you would fucking study it. But like, I don't want to learn about calculus. I don't care about like, studies of whatever this, like, I don't care. But if it's going to serve my greater good or serve my highest purpose, I'm all for it. I'll learn. Like I love learning about philosophy because it can help in my situations in my life and with my clients and makes me a better coach. But like if it's an elective that doesn't serve me, then I'm not going to be good at it. And that's why I didn't do good in school. You know?
Yeah. I definitely like, if I had taken philosophy back when I was in university, I probably would have found it boring, but now I would be quite interested in it. But
I totally get
conversely, I took psychology because in my 4th year of university, I looked at my credits and stuff. I'm like, oh, I could take more 100-level electives. I feel like there'd be a lot of hot chicks in Psych 100 or whatever, right? So I took Psych 100, and here I am, however many years later, like
on the Long and Hard podcast.
Well, but and with a pretty decent working knowledge of a lot of psychology stuff that I've self-taught. I've read a ton of books on it, and
nice,
right? So I don't know. Perhaps just to contradict my point a second ago, that can invigorate something in you for sure, right?
I can
so relate to that in that hot chicks are my motivation for pretty much everything. It's the deep-seated.
And then you're like, oh, this is actually interesting.
It's so true, man. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I think at our core, we do almost everything we do is at the end of the day for just chicks. You know,
100%.
Everything is deeply rooted in like what's going to portray us better to women. It's just in our DNA.
Yeah. I think a lot of, and I'm going to tread very carefully, but especially in a traditional world, historically speaking, where men were the only ones who could do anything, a lot of like male ambition came from wanting to impress chicks, right?
Of course. Women were the caretakers. Men were the...
But like sailing across the New World, traveling this French Channel to conquer the English, so on and so forth. The reason they did it was really because they're like, this will get me mad chicks when I get back home.
100%,
right?
Bro. And but it's like just evolutionary biology. It's just like we are here to repopulate the earth, and women want to be with people men who they see as the most likely to produce the most, I guess, powerful or efficient offspring, or however you want to talk it and say it. And that's just, I think, the game that we're all out there playing, right? You know, and then you throw in the
status is what it is, and then you just fit whatever society at that time deems to be status, just kind of slinks in, right? So
100%, man.
Yeah,
very interesting, man. So conspiracies to the gym, mental health, to
philosophy, and
now hot chicks.
That's a good podcast, man.
It is a great podcast, man. This reminds me. This is like the most Joe Rogan-esque podcast I've ever done, and I'm here for it.
Excellent. We appreciate that.
That's what we're going for.
That means a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, I don't know. It's And for me, because, you know, not to knock anyone else out there, but doing just kind of a like super plain interview, you've, as far as I can tell, you've done those a few times already. And
well, yeah, so we did.
So it's the same conversation, right?
Did it in the beginning, and then, you know, obviously asking my team for feedback. I was like, you know, what do you think would make this better? And that's one of the first things they said is like, we like the ones that are more conversation. You know, so that's what I do now, and I tell the guests, it's like, let's have a conversation. You know, and it's not because I want to get like, because truly, if in the beginning it was like me just interviewing, and I don't know if I wanted them to, like I was just coming from a genuine place of curiosity of like trying to get everything out of them. And I thought that's what the audience wanted, but then turns out they like the back and forth. And they want to hear you like you're having a beer. They want to overhear a conversation like you're just having a beer with someone.
Well, and people are multifaceted too, right?
Yes.
Like to have them in and only focus on, you know, oh, you're an accountant, let's have an interview about that, right? It's, I don't know. I think it's a shitty way to do it, right?
Yeah. Well, and even when you have that conversation, especially in a podcast format, your story like kind of gets trickled in throughout, so it like they learn about you, in a like very authentic way, and they still get the stats, but not in like a boring way of like, all right, I was born on this day. My favorite color is blue, and right?
Totally. No. And you know what's, I think, a really, I guess, valuable tool for like marketers and business owners is to realize that when you go online, the more formal you are with something, that's your instincts, is that the more formal I am, the more professional I'm going to come off, the more business I'm going to get. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. The more formal you are, the more red flags go off when the consumer sees you. And it's like, I don't want to watch this. They're going to pitch me on something, or this is going to, like nowadays people want to see like realness. And that doesn't mean if you're a real estate agent that you should go on social media and be unprofessional or say something, you know, inappropriate or anything. It's just, but be a real human. Like, just be real. And that's what the interview is you think it's so, that was my instinct. And I got caught in that trap, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I thought the more professional this podcast sounds, the more people are going to want to listen. And it's like, no, the more they tune out, be a real human being, be authentic, be real, and just be casual, and people will want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even for, I mean, like, I'm a real estate agent, obviously, but I host a podcast called Long and Hard Podcast.
I was gonna just bring that up,
right? Like, you know, I kind of was tiptoed around it before, but now I don't really care because I've made so many more serious connections through this that I think will lead to some business on that end of things.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, kind of the authenticity of it, of like, let's say a client, because I get a lot of clients from like outside different sources of business, obviously. Let's say someone like wanted to list their home with me, and they're like, oh, but I found your podcast with Kaylor Betts, and you guys talked about the Chinese government, and I don't really want to list my home with you. I'd say good. Like, you're not someone I want to work with, right?
100%.
That's now I have time to focus on the people who are my target market, right? So.
I was just going to say that being polarizing is actually a really strong technique. You know, Grant Cardone, say what you want about him. I like some of his stuff. I get annoyed by some of them, but sometimes he hits the spot for me. And he said a really great quote that resonated with me like crazy. He was talking about being polarizing and just like being authentic, being real, speaking your truth. And he's like, you know, if I can get half the country to hate me, maybe I can become president of the United States. And I was like, fuck, that's such a good point. Like, you know, Donald Trump, half the country, literally, well, maybe a little more than half the country, you know, want to see him basically dead.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that half the country probably would say that him getting assassinated would be a good thing. And then the other half, the reason why, you know, or I guess half the country is like that. And then the other people love him so much that they are ride or dies. And it's because he's just polarizing. So that's what I'm trying to work on a little more, is like really speaking my truth a little more. And like, and it's not that I haven't been authentic. It's just like, you know, now with like cancel culture and like you have to be so careful. But like, I'm really trying to like I want to be careful. I don't want to offend anyone, but I also just want to like speak my truth. Like you know, because I do hold things back. I hold things back
Absolutely.
that I can't say because, you know, I'm worried about like what will people, and there's no ill will in me at all. I don't have a bad bone in my body. I care about people. I'm empathetic. I'm compassionate. But at the same time, it's like you can't really say anything these days, you know, and without it, you know, even, and I'm talking about like, you know, the COVID stuff, even this stuff, maybe like a month ago, I might have really kind of been like, oh, I don't know if I really want it. It's kind of controversial to talk about masks and stuff. But now I'm like, you know what? Like, and Joe Rogan's been a big inspiration for me on that. That guy says anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He'll say anything that comes to his mind. And some of it goes against some of the things he says. People would get canceled for if they were like a politician or a business or whatever. Yeah. But he's just like, says it.
And he'll be like, well, and he's the first to ever really like proactively fact check on the go. I mean, I don't like that word, but look something up, make sure he has it right. Yeah. He said something wrong about an Oregon protest. He like publicly was like, apologized. Hey, you know what? I was wrong about this, right? Mm-hmm. And then people tried to like blow that up and be like, Joe Rogan says misinformation, but like posted his apology clip, and it's like, he's just literally saying like, hey, I had the wrong information, I should have looked it up, right? Like,
and he's also really good at the way he says it. You know, like, not everyone could pull that off, but you know, I like to think that I hopefully will be, because Joe Rogan's the epitome of like a rational, like, you're just like, this guy is so rational, like it's hard to hate it. And I know some people do hate him, but he like conservatives like him, liberals like him, like he's just kind of that like middle.
He's perfect. He's so perfect. He's very perfectly down the middle. Yes, I would say. Yes, and very, very fair about everything. Yeah, which is good, and which is, I think, what we need in like a, not to be like, oh, society these days, but society these days, like you can't converse with the other side. Him being healthily down the middle and exposing you to new viewpoints from everywhere, like, and to be on such a large platform and unapologetically do that, like I think it's incredibly important.
So important.
Yeah, we sound like such basic bros right now. But
man, I
think when we look, when we're in 50 years, when we look back, like I really think Joe Rogan will be such like catalyst of information and discussion and kind of the zeitgeist of our times, really.
I really hope they fucking do a presidential debate on him.
Like that would be amazing.
Well, was that real that Trump actually wanted that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Trump replied immediately.
He said, "I'm in." He said, "I'm in."
That's so awesome.
But that's what you need, is that uncensored 4-hour conversation for that type of thing.
100%.
Whereas what you're going to get this evening is going to be, you know, sound bites.
Right? And it's just, you can't get any progress done in a debate like that. But
to go back to your previous point, though, I think that not giving a fuck is a superpower in 2020. And to be able to do that, I think you need to go through something that shifts that in your mind, whatever that is for somebody. But there is that one. There's the before giving a fuck, and then there's the after giving a fuck. And for everybody, it differs in what that is. But I think that if you do speak that truth, you find your real people.
Yes.
And that's so much more important than trying to get everybody to like you.
100%, man. You so well said. You find your people. And like the way we have to really look at it is like, so if I were to say something that I hold on in as a belief in my heart, and someone's going to literally want to like unfollow me on social media for it, or even try and criticize me for it, if it's something I said that I was out of line, I'll apologize. Like Joe Rogan. I mean, I'm obviously not on that level where an apology might even be necessary, but I like to think so. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, then good. Like, unfollow me. Like, you weren't supposed to be there in the first place. Obviously, if it's going to, I just did a video. I posted it yesterday, I think, about disagreements in 2020, how bad we are. Like, everyone is just attaching onto their opinions so tightly that it's literally becoming their self-worth and their identity, so that when an external source comes in and tries to tell you you're wrong, it's a threat to their identity. And what we don't realize is, for most of human history, we were thrown to the wolves. If our ideas weren't accepted, if our opinions weren't accepted, if we were wrong, we were thrown to the wolves most of human history. So it's like life or death when someone disagrees with you, if you're attaching on your opinions so tightly. Whereas, like, you need to learn to disassociate and realize that, like, your opinion can change. It's something that can evolve. It's just something you currently have a belief system about. But, like, don't friggin' hold on to that thing so tight, because what I believed 5 to 10 years ago, I believe the opposite in many regards.
I'm
now.
the same way.
Yeah, I've changed my mind on so many things.
Yeah, and I mean, the funniest thing is people will go back in your Twitter history or something and be like, well, Kaylor said this 4 years ago. It's like, man, I don't even have the same cells in my body. I'm not even the same person anymore.
7 years, new cells. That's a good point.
You never set foot in the same river twice, or however that goes, right?
Yeah, man, a wise man once said, for sure. You never set foot in a river twice?
Yeah. The same river twice.
The same river twice, because it's always moving. Yeah.
Well, so it's
I love that.
Yeah.
For it's not the same and he's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
we're getting
second
deep
half
here.
of the quote.
Yeah.
There's a second half.
That's like the third verse of a song no one knows or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Damn, we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It. That's
so to, I guess, kind of bring it all together, what's next for you, I guess, with your podcast and your coaching?
Yeah, like I have this incredible team, man, for the Mental Wealth Project. So I have two, to be really clear. I have the Mental Wealth Project, and then I have my coaching. They are separate, but the plan is to work in unison to each other. But the Mental Wealth Project allows me to have this passion project that allows me to just make an impact. Our mission is two things. We want to normalize the conversation around mental health. And number two, we want to build the biggest community online in the mental health space. So that's really what we're doing. And I've built this incredible team of, like, the most incredible people, man. There's 8 of us, and they just do it out of the goodness of their heart, man. They are like people who just want to help and want to be there. And, we have an Instagram platform. We have a newsletter that goes out every week. We have our podcast. And it's really just about, again, building a community and normalizing the conversation. So there's that. And where we want to go with that is exactly what I said. We're not going to stop until we build the biggest community and we normalize the conversation. And then I have my coaching. So my coaching is really cool. I have clients all over the world, everywhere from South Africa to Europe, Australia, Canada, United States. And I'm a mental wealth coach. So I help people, essentially become that 2.0 version of themselves. And I use all these modalities that I've learned over the last 12 years, from physical health to the subconscious mind to presence and meditation and gratitude and fear and relationships and meaning and purpose and self-worth and all these things. I have a program that I take people through. It's an 8-week course. I do coaching calls, and they have support that they can get. So yeah, man, I work with people online like that through the phone, and we work towards, in 90 days, transforming their lives, just like I went through, but kind of a sped up version, because I kind of have putting it all together. So where I want to go with that is I just want to keep expanding it and keep scaling it. I'm going to be launching a group coaching program here soon, which I'm really excited about. I want to end up doing retreats one day. I mean, essentially, to be honest, I want to not necessarily have Tony Robbins level of impact, because that is shooting it high. He will probably go down as the number one quote unquote life coach in history. But I do want to, even if I could do a fraction of that, of what he's doing. He has conferences all over the world. He speaks, he's on podcasts, he does documentaries, he writes books. Like, that's what I'm going for. I really want to, but in my own unique way. I don't want to be Tony Robbins. I want to be Kaylor Betts, and I want to focus on what I do. And essentially what I do is I help people, again, build mental wealth, but most importantly, it comes down to self-worth. I grew up and I struggled because I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was good enough. I had low self-worth. I help people fall in love with themselves. And then when you fall in love with yourselves, your belief systems change, and then your reality changes, and you manifest all the things you want in your life. So it's essentially what I want to keep doing.
Hell yeah. Where can We'll drop some links for you below if you want to follow Kaylor, but where can people find more of you?
Yeah, like I want to keep it really simple, and with call to actions, you got to keep it simple. So there's lots of places they could go, but one ask, reach out to me on Instagram. If you liked this conversation at all, if you really, whether you're into conspiracy theories or you want to achieve mental wealth, I don't care what it is, reach out to me on Instagram at Kaylor.Betts. That would be number one. And then from there, you'll see the Mental Wealth Project in there. I'd love you to give them a follow. You'll see the Mental Wealth Podcast right on there. It's in my link in my bio, all that stuff. You'll check all that out. But number one, just go to my Instagram. That's where I'm mostly at. And fire me a message. I love connecting with people.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on. This was a blast.
Thanks
for
having
me, guys.
This
we
was
appreciate
great.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks so
much.
This was
really fun.